I'm anti-war. That being said, European governments aren't 100% innocent, and there's more than the UK's support for America's wars for Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the military-industrial complex. Next. Yeah. For example, Canada selling arms to Saudi Arabia. Let's not kid ourselves. Canada is in the war business. France, hence, and the UK still practice neocolonialism. Neocolonialism in Africa. France, one of the wealthiest and most liberal democracies in the world, historically has a habit of selling weapons and military hardware to third world hellholes, which continues to this very day. That's not supporting liberty, equality, and fraternity. Or Germany, another one of the most liberal democracies in the world, is a huge arms supplier for Saudi Arabia, an unbelievably backwards hellhole of a borderline totalitarian monarchy which is waging war on brown Muslims in Yemen and exports Wahhabism and Salafism, ideologies of terrorists, many of whose victims are brown and or Muslim. There's reports of Russian special forces, including SWAT teams, using the HK-416 assault rifle, and more credible reports of using the HK-417 battle rifle. I also wonder if the German government authorized the export of machinery to make Heckler & Koch G3 battle rifles, MP5 submachine guns, and HK-33 assault rifles to third world hellholes such as Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Myanmar, Burma, Sudan, and Iran, which allows foreign entities, governments specifically, to evade arms export controls. And to close this off, the East German Volkspolizei Special Unit at 9, I'm not pronouncing it now, has at least one HK-33 assault rifle during the Cold War, when one would assume that there's a complete arms embargo against the Warsaw Pact countries, especially West Germany's next door neighbor, East Germany, though it could have came from Vietnam. Probably he captured her from South Vietnam. Vietnam apparently also has at least one HK-33 rifle. As seen in a picture in the article, Vietnam agents are more like the PLA, China Military Report, which very possibly came from East Germany, or was captured from South Vietnam, and then, either way, modified into a designated marksman and rifle. Though that HK-33 could have also been imported from Myanmar, or less likely, Greece or Turkey, where the HK-33 is, or at least was, produced under a license. Germany, your self-flagellation for crimes your ancestors did over 3/4 of a century ago does not help anything if you keep selling weaponry to the borderline totalitarian Wahhabi fundamentalist monarchy that is Saudi Arabia. You are missing the forest for the trees, or should I say, you are so obsessed with the Holocaust that you end up selling some of the world's best weaponry to some of the worst human rights abusers in the entire world. In Germany, one can get into legal trouble for writing mean things about minorities online, but the German government hardly cares if Saudi Arabian soldiers, airmen, and naval sailors murder brown Muslims in Yemen on a daily basis. Italy, another liberal democracy, sells artillery shells to Saudi Arabia, which uses said artillery shells in its war in Yemen. The Italian government has also authorized the sale of the Beretta ARX-180 assault rifle and its complementary GLX-160 grenade launcher to the government of Turkmenistan, and one of the very worst human rights abusers who's on the planet that rivals North Korea. So that means that 1,680 agents, hence of the totalitarian government of Turkmenistan, and have a potentially a better assault rifle than some of Italy's his own allies, such as the United Kingdom, with its SA-80, with 150 of them having a grenade launcher as an added bonus. In contrast, it's almost impossible for civilians, hence even Italian citizens, to legally own machine guns in Italy. I don't know if armed security guards can carry long guns, let alone machine guns, and many, probably most, Italian police officers don't even have access to Beretta ARX-180, with even fewer, if any, having access to grenade launchers unless they're a member of an anti-riot unit. Though the Guardia di Finanza and maybe the Carabinieri do have lethal grenades. The government of Turkmenistan and has ordered at least 120 Beretta PX-4 Storm semi-automatic pistols. But wait, there was more. The Italian government allowed the Turkmen government to buy 7 Augusta Westland and AW-139 utility helicopters. Here's 3 Augusta Westland AW-109 utility attack helicopters, 3 Selex S Falco drones, 6 Alina Armaci M346X Master jets. 2 of those jets are trainers, and 4 of them are fighters. Would you sell NATO-grade helicopters, surveillance drones, and jet fighters to North Korea? Like I said, Turkmenistan's human rights records rival that of North Korea. Yet another reason to oppose the Afghan war is so the West would not have to appease Central Asian dictatorships to allow the North Atlantic Treaty Organization to operate in Afghanistan. The governments of Belgium and Austria routinely permit the sale of firearms to countries like Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Indonesia, and Venezuela. I also read reports of Glock pistols being used by Vietnamese and Chinese law enforcement agencies, along with Russian law enforcement agencies and special forces. West Germany, the United Kingdom, and Italy allowed the Panavia Tornado to be sold to Saudi Arabia. Germany, France, Spain, the United Kingdom, and Italy allowed the Eurofighter Typhoon to be sold to Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia. If I was to get into all the specifics of whenever Switzerland, the United Kingdom, Germany, and France exported weaponry to third world countries, that'd be another article by itself. As a bonus, I'll mention that the Vietnam Coast Guard has Spanish-manufactured Casa C-212 Aviocar series 400 head patrol hull/cargo planes and Dutch-engineered Daman salvage tugboats. That doesn't seem like a big deal until they're used to chase down dissidents and people trying to escape the authoritarian oligarchy. If European governments sincerely cared about Muslims and people of color, they can put an end to neocolonialism and cut off the sale of weapons to governments that don't respect human rights. Then again, maybe European governments need to find some way to pay off their welfare states. At one point, the Swedish government cut foreign aid and opted for more immigration, even though foreign aid will ultimately help more people, and do so without requiring that they leave their homes, come to a cold country with long, dark winters, get into confrontations with locals and other immigrants, and having limited opportunities due to having a poor, if any, education, competing for a limited number of jobs with one of the best educated populations in the world, and the growing population making real estate more expensive and straining public services and infrastructure that are already expensive with some of the highest taxes in the world. Sweden's government is lying about Sweden, and higher taxes equals less welfare. Angry foreigner on Swedish socialism. However, not everything is bad. I'm glad that the EU, along with the UK and US, has put restrictions on the sale of military and law enforcement hardware to Hong Kong after the passage of the Hong Kong National Security Law. Germany has interrupted arms sales to Saudi Arabia, but as far as I know, haven't put an arms embargo in Saudi Arabia. I have mixed feelings about Germany restricting the exportation of firearms to countries that aren't members or close allies to NATO, namely Latin America, is that I don't want to arm criminals or states that abuse human rights. But at the same time, I don't want to harm states that are trying to fight corruption and are legitimately trying to fight crime and terrorism, such as Mexico and Brazil, or law-abiding citizens and security guards who are responsible and not involved in crime or terrorism. As much as it is my responsibility as an American citizen to raise awareness, campaign, and lobby against selling arms to tyrannical and or imperialist governments, it's your responsibility as a citizen of your country to do the same and not just deflect with America does X bad thing. Do more than shame America for arming Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. Raise awareness, campaign, and lobby your own government to stop arms sales in collaboration with governments that don't respect human rights. One idea I heard from Ryan Dawson is to offer lifting sanctions on Russia if the Russian government would place an arms embargo on Saudi Arabia. I'm disappointed on how Western governments have no problem with selling military hardware to the likes of Saudi Arabia, but are apprehensive about even recognizing the liberal democracy that is Taiwan as a country. And Taiwan is a flourishing democracy with some of the very best human rights records in Asia, let alone selling military hardware to it just because of diplomatic pressure from a totalitarian and this totalitarian Orwellian dictatorship that is China. Dictator. We support the Substack blogs America vs. Europe and the World and Arguments Against Leftism. Here's my social media link tree, which I ask that you keep archive. You keep the link and archive my content, and please